Today, we sell more pieces of lipstick than some of the biggest beauty brands on Blinkit.
Today, we have Arush Chopra, who built a 100 crore Ayurvedic skincare company that sells ghee lipsticks. Just Herbs has become a household name, famous for its use of organic ingredients to make skincare products that don't harm you. What started as a backyard project is now a top competitor to the biggest brands in beauty and skincare today. In this episode, we dive deep into 3 core insights into how Arush built a mega Ayurvedic beauty and skincare brand.
I was born in Chandigarh, right? The year was 1984. Parents, my mom she's a biochemist by education. We did very well. She was academically a very sound student. Dad was an engineer, worked with Punjab Tractors Limited, which then got bought over by Mahindra. So he was a tractors guy, setting up factories. Did my schooling there. In my last assignment, I was working with an investment firm. It was encouraged to have a side hustle or to be entrepreneurial in whatever way you can. And so that also set me thinking that what is it that I can do? I think it's time to pack our bags and go. It's now or never kind of thing. And the amount of per capita beauty consumption in markets like Japan, Korea, which, a Singapore or these South Asian nations look up to is nowhere close to what it is in India. But usse zyada ye tha ki my mom is a biochemist. So back in the day when I was in college, she had started, as a hobby. She said enough. She worked in a bank which had nothing to do with what her passion was. So it was a completely soul-killing job for her. So she had given it up and she studied Ayurveda. And the person that she is right. You look at Ayurveda and a lot of people say this is a quack science. But here's a person who's got 6 gold medals in biochemistry, then studies Ayurveda. She's instead looking at the similarities. So she's that person who tells you that haldi wala doodh piyo, wo Ayurveda kehta hai, but kyun piyo? Because iske andar curcumin hai and curcumin has these properties. It has blah, blah, blah. So she can explain that to you in scientific terms. So with that mindset, she was creating those products. So I said, but what are we doing here? She said, we just take herbs, plants and flowers and we make powders and we put them into a bottle. Oh, I said, so like just herbs, right? She's like, yeah, just herbs. Like, theek hai, ye lag do naam. And then she liked it. My dad liked the ring of it. So the name was registered. A few basic formulas were there, but nowhere close to in a form that can be actually taken to the market. So this is all that we had to work with when we moved back. So me, Megha, who's my co-founder, and my wife and my mom, that's how we started it.
What helped you build conviction in skincare and beauty?
2 things were very clear to me. One was that although it is a crowded category, but it's a very big category. Everybody wants to look good. It's a very basic human need to look good, right? And it's not going away anywhere. The second is that for the past 10 years, I've been noticing this, that it will never be that the entire shelf is filled with one brand. There will always be a small share of wallet to try out new things. Because this is the business of hope. If this didn't work, probably this one will.
You said something very interesting, that how do you, in a beauty cabinet, in the washroom's cabinet, how are you on the top shelf? So how would you say what you have done right so that Just Herbs can be on the top shelf of a person's beauty cabinet?
I've kind of, over these years now, I've perfected this into some sort of a framework to think about new product development, which I believe can be applied not just to beauty, but to most things. Is that on the one hand, there are things which are inventions. Like, Motorola comes up with the first mobile phone. Or let's say Amazon comes up with the idea of e-commerce, right? That's an invention. Don't want to be there. You need too much money and, too much risk of failure. The other hand is a Me Too product. Let's say a Flipkart, for example. And in the middle are people who actually take the same problem and solve it in a new way. So Blinkit is solving for e-commerce for people who need it in 10 minutes, or an Apple gives you a much better phone which is beautifully designed, etc., etc. So they capture the demand for what is already there. They're not creating any new demand, but catering to that demand in a better way. With this framework, you look into the category and you see where are those opportunities where I can solve this problem in a better way. Because if I'm able to solve this problem in a better way, I will not get stuck in a discounting spiral. Number one. Second, I will make my competition completely irrelevant. So when I'm launching a micellar water where Garnier has the biggest share, I don't want to grab the entire share. I just want a foot in the door. And by telling somebody that this is Ayurvedic and then, doing a lot of other things around it, like that's the other thing that we crowdsource our product development, etc. So these were like small things which snowball into something big, and then you start seeing the results. Yeah.
But before we get into this episode, I want to tell you one important thing. This Sunday, we have the 21st edition of the GrowthX Demo Day. Now, if you are somebody who's into product, marketing, or if you're an early stage founder, this is built for you. It's a 2-hour simple learning event where you come and you learn from growth strategists, some of the top products that are hyper growing right now in India. This is companies like Zepto, Amber Student, Intercom, and so many more. You will learn how to acquire customers, how do you onboard them, How do you retain your profitable customers? And very importantly, how do you convert free users into paid customers? You should definitely attend this if you want to grow your product on the internet. We have limited invites for the YT fam. It's first come, first serve. So go ahead, grab your pass right away. And I'll see you 1 p.m. on October 6th. It's a Sunday, live on Zoom.
Ayurveda as a category is now very popular. It's trendy now. But back then it was very niche.
Yeah.
First of all, tell us how big of a category Ayurveda is in itself right now.
If for a startup, if you're a challenger brand, you have to be in the niches only, no matter what anybody says, because you don't know which out of these niches will become big tomorrow. And that's when you hit it big along with it, right? And the second thing is that if you're a brand born on the internet, it makes complete sense to be in the niches, yeah, because the internet is all about the long tail, right? And what helped us do this also is an interesting thing we call crowdsourcing, right? So I go back to my initial days, when I was running the entire show on the D2C website, I was saying that for every 100 people who come in, only 2-3 end up shopping. Yeah. So what do we do to boost this up? Right? We were desperate to think about it. So we thought very first principles. We said, imagine this is not the internet, this is my own shop. So there are two things I can do. I can bring people, drag them into my shop and tell them, please buy. Or I can just go to where they're hanging out. That time, WhatsApp was taking off. People were on WhatsApp all the time. So I just did an experiment. In my Facebook ads, I put on my own WhatsApp number and I said, get a skin consultation with us. And at the back end, I sat with mom and I took her help to consult the first few leads that came in. And after that, we developed an algorithm with the products that we had. We kind of made regimes out of them. And like that, what we saw then, customers had us sitting on their phones, 1-to-1. AOVs were through the roof. And we were learning the vocabulary of the customer. So we knew whether she calls it a shower gel or a body wash. And that in turn would inform our SEO efforts. Then we decided to take this a step further. We said we can't do this. It's not scalable. So Facebook groups were a thing then, right? Facebook were really promoting groups. I set up an email automation where, somebody told me that, when somebody has bought from you 2 times and when they come by the 3rd time, that's when they are most likely to become your longest customer. So on that second, third type order wala, I put a trigger saying that you are now invited to join this community. It's an exclusive community. You'll get to know about deals, etc. And just like that, we had about 3,500 to 4,000 women across the country, different age groups, different skin types, different occupations. So usme 2 things were happening. Product suggestions were coming in. Why don't you make this and why don't you make that? And what product should I use? I have this skin type, and then some XYZ person would come and help them out and not us. So that community was getting built there. So in that, a lady said that I'm a working woman. And when I go to office every day, the makeup that I put on my face, and especially in the hot climate of a city like Bombay, etc., it starts caking up on my face. You get creases. So can you make like a product which is very lightweight, which is not exactly makeup, but I don't know what it will be, but you put it on your face and you feel like it's removed all the imperfections, but feels very light. So we're like, wow, like ye kaise karenge yaar? We are not a makeup company. We've never done this. But then I took this to my mother and I said, let's see what we can do. And mom loves a good challenge. So she got into it and she made like a small prototype of it. And then what we did was we said, we'll put this into little jars, A, B, C, and D, pack them into envelopes. And we packed like 500 such envelopes. We shipped those out and can't describe what really happened. You have to understand, this was not a time where people were very comfortable posting on social media. Like today we live in an age where people are actually sort of changing dresses for you on reels. But here we were still a very private, species back then, right? So when women were sort of showing you this product and saying, this company from Chandigarh sent me this and look how cool this is, it was all like free publicity, and we could see what virality actually is. I think one journalist happened to be in that group, and she kind of took notice of what we were doing, and she wrote an article in the newspaper. I think it was Mint, and that kind of put us in a completely different orbit. It was a validation of what we were doing, and secondly, people started looking at us as an innovative beauty company.
That was your differentiator.
That was my differentiator, and so we said, let's own this like a boss here. Let's do this. Let's do more of this. And then the third crowdsource was the biggest, absolutely, which was a game changer for us, which marked our entry properly into makeup, when we launched lipsticks. So it took 2.5 years to develop lipsticks made with ghee and with sesame oil. So a normal lipstick has synthetic waxes, etc. And it's quite hard, it doesn't break. But when you make it with ghee, it keeps breaking. Finally, when we were ready to launch it, the national lockdown got announced. So we were wondering like who's gonna wear a lipstick under those masks, right? But like we said, we'll anyway launch it. But what happened to us completely defied all the expectations and the logics. A, there was nobody launching any product because it was the lockdown. B, customers really loved the launch because here was something positive to talk about. For a woman, a lipstick lights up her day. We launched 16 shades in those lipsticks. It was crowdsourced the same way, like people had given feedback. But this time we named each shade after 16 real women. So till this day, when somebody wears that shade, they feel so cool about it. They get like, goosebumps. Mere naam ka shade pehna, and they take a picture and they'll put it on Instagram and tag people and me and Megha. So that word of mouth is like a perpetuity for the brand. Today, we sell, I'm told, more pieces of lipstick than some of the biggest beauty brands on Blinkit, for example. We have a very high market share in makeup kits on Flipkart. So it's been a journey, man. So our customers told us where to go.
What was the white space you saw for Just Herbs at the beginning?
So when we started, it was like the white space was clean, paraben free, etc. Suddenly it got crowded. That was not a white space anymore. Then suddenly the white space became serums and face oils. So we over-indexed on that. Then consumers told us that if I'm buying face wash from you, if I'm buying shampoo from you, I also use kajal. Why can't you make that? I also use a foundation. Why can't you make that? That was, I think, the real white space that we saw. They want the same credentials that they want in their skincare, the same cleanliness that they want from their skincare, also from their makeup, and nobody's actually providing that. In fact, the whole trade is built in silos. Like if you go to a Nykaa, there's a different category manager for makeup and a different category manager for skincare. You go into a retail, the retailer says, "मैं makeup का margin अलग लूंगा, इसका अलग लूंगा, इसका किराया अलग लूंगा, इसका अलग लूंगा." It's always thought of as two different verticals, but the consumers don't think like that. It's the same consumer. And you'd rather be selling 10 products to a single consumer than sell one product to 10 people.
How do you ensure trust, or how do you ensure that your customers trust your brand and product?
So you have to get your first 100 advocates, right? In every city, in every circle, there will be certain people who the general population looks up to. It could be the lady who's running a business there, who has a lot of friends, etc. And with women now, what happens is that us guys will never talk about, Saksham, what shampoo do you use? What cream do you use? Your skin is glowing. We never talk like that. Women do. So there is word of mouth built into this category. So we just thought, let's crack this, right? And we were early adopters of opening our own stores. Again, defied all conventional wisdom that you have to be asset light and all that. We said, no, man, like we still live in the real world. People like to touch and feel the product. These were neighborhood stores. We never always went for malls. So वो हो रहा था, और उन stores के through in that neighborhood, people talk. In smaller cities, getting out to shop is still an activity for people that they enjoy. Like when we shut our Chandigarh store, it was a 150 square foot, very small store, almost the space that an ATM has, in the wall. We had served 42,000 customers from that space. And those customers did not have any overlap with our online, or very little overlap with like Chandigarh people would never shop online. They were just not an online market back then. The other way to do it was just make sure that the people who are using your product, these are not like professional influencers, somebody fairly known. And you have like the more popular people in every city, every locality. If they are using your product, and you put a video of them on your social media, sometimes even that is enough.
You did 100 crores in revenue. Tell me everything I can learn from you in a D2C market or a D2C product.
So I think the first thing you need to do is that you need to focus on it channel by channel, right? Don't try to do everything in one go. So go channel by channel, saturate each channel and then move ahead. By channel, I even mean marketing channel sometimes. Meaning that whatever is the equivalent of the impression share in that channel, like you exhausted that, like, you've shown yourself to most people and now you move on to the next channel. I found that approach pretty good because all channels have a rub off on one another. Second is that you cannot expect the same product to work well on every channel. So you need to also crack what is called the product channel fit. And how to get that product channel fit is you don't need to sometimes reinvent the wheel. Just go sit with the category manager or whoever the gatekeeper is on the other side and tell them, what can I do for you, right? Mostly these guys have a KPI that they want to recruit new consumers on that channel. And those new consumers could be of a certain age cohort or a certain gender. See what you can offer them. So for example, on the WH Smith stores at the airports, we did a small kit which has a little tiny perfume, a small lip and cheek tint, a little lipper for women on the go who are going for a meeting and need a quick touch up. Does really well. The third thing is that, a lot of times founders, they kind of sort of try to save money on branding and marketing in the early days and all. I didn't have money, But I think if I had one thing I could have done properly initially only to kind of get a very distinct brand identity, because it is important, right? And that money will kind of pay itself over.
Who are your users, and what was the major user insight behind starting Just Herbs?
So I think the user insight had kept changing. So I would divide Just Herbs into three parts, right? Just Herbs 1.0, 2.0 and 3.0. So I think the first 4 years I would call it 1.0. There the insight was very simple, that people were not giving you clean products. Most things being marketed as a natural still had a lot of potentially harmful chemicals, controversial chemicals in them. We're saying we don't have that. Then suddenly it became table stakes because everybody started following that, and which was a good thing, right? Everybody cleaned up their act. In Just Herbs 2.0, we were about saying that we will also now start doing makeup, right? So we are changing gears and we are saying that this is a road which is getting crowded. Everybody is kind of coming in with skincare. We will give you another value prop. And the insight there, I'll tell you where it came from also. So my nieces are young, and I would check in the bathroom, do they use any Just Herbs? Because I'm very anal about it. Like my family has to use only our products, and I would never find our products in there. And then one day I found our skin tint, which is like a lightweight foundation. So I asked my niece, how come you're using ours? You used to use only like Benefit and all that. And she's like, yeah, because it won't spoil my skin. And mom has also said it. We never put this in our marketing anywhere, but this is how it is being perceived. Then I checked again with a few other consumers, did a little bit of dipstick, and we said we found our hook. Then I think makeup is what we need to double down on, because कुछ और मिल नहीं रहा लोगों को. तो ये space खाली पड़ा है ना, let's occupy it.
Tell me stories of struggle where you thought things will not work out.
I think recently a publication who had never covered us ever in our 10-year journey finally covered us, and they called us, they talked about our cockroach-like approach. I love that. I'd rather be called a cockroach, I want to be a cockroach than a unicorn, because unicorns are mythical creatures and cockroaches are for real. Cockroaches are actually a formidable creature. They can get reactions out of people. They're very strong. And some people say they can even survive a nuclear attack, right? So you got to be a cockroach, right? Because these near-death experiences will happen. And I'll give you some examples. But the idea is that if you will not survive these, you will die. And if you will die, you will never win. So the whole idea is to survive and forget D2C or what type of business it is. The key to survival, the oxygen for you, is money. So deals fell through. We've had investors who kind of sign term sheets, SHAs with us. That creates self-doubt. And you're just wondering, is there something wrong with us? And 7-8 days we were down. And then when we look at the dashboards, the numbers are increasing and we're not even going to work. And it's the team that's doing it. And that's then suddenly gives you that kick. That boss, we're onto something. What are we scared about?